Actually, I've taken some photos that I really like. I might just... Well, hello there. Very low key, testing something out, but I will be animating today. But first, I'm gonna make my bed. Oh no! My holder thing that I meticulously crafted in one of my vlogs that are on my second channel, which you might be able to find if you looked it up, it's just Quillo. There's no SFM on it, just Quillo. It's in my Saturdays with Steve streams, videos, called Woodworking, I believe. I don't know, I haven't made one in a while. I like it. Anyway. I like it. Get that reference. You're on the right sides of YouTube. Okay. Check this out. My bed doesn't have a top sheet because I can't be fucked with it anymore. No. It is so cold here at the moment. So cold. So cold as in it's about 10 degrees. Hey Google, what temperature is it outside?
The current temperature in St. Lucia is 12 degrees.
12 degrees Celsius, that is. So, it's even colder than Fahrenheit, I think. Hey Google, what's the current temperature in Fahrenheit?
The temperature in St. Lucia right now is 54 degrees Fahrenheit.
Fucking Google's amazing. But, something that I had learnt. The reason why 12 degrees Celsius, or 54 degrees Fahrenheit, is so fucking cold is because Australia homes are designed for the heat. As in, they're very good at getting cold. As in, when it's cold, it feels colder. So, not only am I being a wimp, I'm trying to strategize why that's the case. There we go. Nothing like a bed and some pillows. Okay, so... Oh, my hands are so cold. The other thing, there's this one condition that I had learnt that I may or may not have based off of the condition that someone else has. He's on YouTube. He's Ask Hugo? Hugo? God damn, I need to find out his name. Oh, I'm yelling at everyone, by the way. Hang on. Input, manage sound devices, microphone. Oh, God damn, why is it so useless? So now that I'm not yelling at you anymore, I can bring the microphone closer to my mouth and actually talk with you. That is, talk with this thing. Ah, the cable's everywhere. And by that I mean the cable is in literally one place because it is a cable. It's just that one place is very long because it is a cable. He's a Japanese guy who does videos about Japanese things. And he's got this condition which limits blood circulation in his hands, which I think is something that I have as well. But I don't know. It's not diagnosed on my end. Is it Hujo? That's Hugo. Japan. No. What's this? Okay. How about samurai wear? Let's see. Ah, Shogo. That's his name. Ask Shogo. But yeah, so Ask Shogo, Shogo, has explained that there's this condition that he has which limits, I'm not sure if it's blood circulation or just heat in his hands, and it's got something that makes his hand worse, which is not good. And that's, I believe, something that I have as well, because it also happens in my feet. And my hands just get frozen when it's cold, and it is cold in the moment, and it's not good. Okay, I do have a Discord. Link is in the description, but I don't really appear there most of the time. Just when someone makes something that's interesting, and I go, "Hey, that's interesting," and then I disappear. I just disappear, vanish into the wind. I also just need to do one more thing and set up my YouTube chat for this stream. So let me just boy. There we go. Excellent. Anyway, but yes. The things that you put in my Discord doesn't have to be animations. It's just anything that you made. If we just have a look at my Discord, let's just have a look at my end. Oh, it's installing updates. 1 of 14. Okay. Oh, my hands are so cold. They are so cold. But yeah, so Australia, the houses are designed to keep you cold, which is great in the summer when it's 30 degrees outside. 30 Celsius, that is. Hey Google, what is 30 Celsius in Fahrenheit?
30 degrees Celsius is 86 degrees Fahrenheit.
Otherwise known as a livable temperature. And yes, let's have a look. So, in the channel Finished Works, you can post everything. We've got plushies, we've got SFM content, of course, which is the primary service thingy. We've got 2D art, we've got more SFM, more plushies, more 2D art. Music, we got music, that's the other one. And more plushies, more SFM, and more 2D art. It's just mainly the 3 people that consistently post in the Finished Works thing. And I post in and say, hey, that's pretty good, and then I disappear. So many channels in my Discord, I'm probably going to cut it down a bit. Anyway, now's not the time for Discord talking. It's time for this. Do I like train content? I don't mind train content. Trains are pretty cool. Oh, hang on. You did just join. Are you Chicken CJ? If you have a look in the role server, go ahead and pick a role. Ah, that's different. Ah, CJ is different. Hello. I'm just so distracted with how cold my hands are. Anyway, so this is the thing that I'm going to be animating. I am still working on Pear Butter's lip sync, but I did a little bit of emotions. And we'll see how this goes. But anyway, today I'm just going to be doing most of this lip sync here. Hello, Cartoon Z. So yes, most of the stream is just going to be this. I do want to stream more often. And I've only just recently got into some kind of a routine, or at least I've developed some kind of a routine. Because my new job has an 8-day working cycle. So it, let's have a look. Cool. Alrighty. I will go ahead and ban you. Let's have a look. So notifications all, collaborators. It's pretty good. At Chicken. Oleos. Dunsky Oleos. Tiny Think Sweat. Yes. Alright, so Shadow Follower, have a look in the roles chat. Scroll up to the top and you'll be able to see what roles that we have available and make your choice from there. Just post it as these other two have done. And yeah, just the same as the other two have done. Just put the notifications thingy down and then I'll give you that and it'll be pretty good. Okay. Okay. So, yeah, that's what that is. Anyway, so let's go ahead and get back to this. So basically, what I was saying before, my work is on an 8-day cycle. I'm shift working now, so that's 4 on and 4 off. And the... Oh, actually, I might just... But I do need to close the mouth here. There we go. Anyway, so 4 on, 4 off, which means that my free days cycle move forward 1 day every week. So the stream is going to be on the last day of my days off every week, which means this week it is Friday for me, the 10th of June. It's Friday for me, which means next week it's probably going to be on a Saturday. Now, I didn't think of this too well because on the weekends I like going down to see my folks on the Gold Coast where I live, where I have lived for a long time, and that usually happens on the weekends. So next week it's probably as well going to be on the Friday, and then the week after it'll probably be on the Sunday. So it's a bit confusing, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to schedule the stream in a bit, but then I'm going to have to make sure I get alarms because I might miss it. And so at the moment it's just a prototype at the moment. So we'll see how it goes. Okay. Where's mouthful? Mouthful. There it is. And I'm going to bit of mouth S. There we go. Okay. Now I'm going to mark there. So I'm going to open this up. Put that out there. Get rid of mouthful. Get rid of B. And then here, put another marker down. I'm going to tongue up, tongue out. I'm going to close the jaw. Going to mouth O. Close the jaw. tongue out. Bit of grin. Bit of grin. Bit of grin. Cool. Okay, so as a look as to what I am animating here, I'm going to go ahead and just play what I've done so far. There's only a few motions on Pear Butter. I've done Bright Max lip sync, and I'm working on Pear Butter's lip sync here. So let's give it a look. See.
Okay, what does YES spell?
One sec. Let me just deselect everything. There we go.
Okay, what does YES spell?
Yes.
What does EYES spell?
Yes.
What does EYES spell?
Yes. What is happening?
What does YES spell?
Yes.
What does EYES spell?
Yes. What are you crying for?
What does...
What do you do?
Okay, try again. What does YES spell?
Yes.
What
I
does
don't have emotions up there.
YES spell?
Ease. AS. You're making
I
me.
can't breathe. Okay.
EYES. ES. What?
Say it again. What does EYES spell?
Yes. What? You're making me cry. What?
EYES.
EYE. Eyes.
Okay, so that's the sound clip that I'm animating to, and I had heard it like a while ago, and it was as soon as I heard
Are you crying for?
this line
Yes.
from Bright Mac,
What are you crying for?
I'm just like, that sounds like something that Bright Mac would say, and so I was like, hell yeah. Anyway, hello Jordan Hale. It's been a while. It definitely has been a while. I've seen new faces here, CJ, Cartoon Z, and that's pretty much it for people I'm not entirely sure about. But Jordan Hale is definitely a name I remember, so it is nice to see you again. And CJ, of course, SFM animation, any 3D animation, it certainly does look hard. It's more technically difficult, as opposed to, and I don't want to say that it's not skillfully difficult, but there's not as much, again, like I say, like, oh, there's not as much artistry required with 3D animation, but there definitely is. It's just in a different way of, it's like two sides of the same coin sort of thing. The coins being animation, and one side is 2D and the other side is 3D. There's no way that you can just press a button and make an animation, for instance. That doesn't happen. But of course, with 2D animation, you're drawing most of the frames, and each individual different frame has to be a separate drawing, which definitely adds to the time-consuming aspect of it. When you have 3D animation, I'm going to knock over that bottle again at some point. When you have 3D animation, you may have the basic drawing of the characters and the things done, and you only have to do it once and just change the camera. But there's a lot less you can get away with. With 2D animation, you can make something a little bit more abstract, and people will have that level of disconnection that it doesn't need to be as perfect as the requirements for 3D animation. And you can also break through the 3D skeletons a lot easier than with 2D, because, like, again, you're just drawing the 2D. And again, I don't mean to say like just drawing the 2D. No, you're drawing every single frame as it will be displayed at the end. You can't really, like, if you're decent at drawing, then you're not going to break them as you draw them, if that makes any sense. Even if you're good at animation, you can break the models sometimes, but still. It's like making a movie on CGI. Well, I mean, technically, anything that you see on the screen is CGI. Technically speaking, everything that you see on the screen is CGI. So, yeah. I say the difference between 2D and 3D animation is that 2D animation requires a lot of skill and artistry, whereas 3D animation requires a lot of patience. Patience and time. And the other thing that I'm not a fan of as well is that, like, with one of the differences, at least from my perspectives, with 2D animation, when you're drawing each individual frame, you're able to do whatever you want with the rest of your mind. So you can put on a podcast or read some, or like have a video in the background and just kind of listen to that passively as you're drawing. I find with 3D animation, at least for myself, since I'm specifically putting each like keyframe in the specific positions relating to the sound of the audio clip that I'm animating to, there's a lot less leeway that I can have when it comes to listening to something in the background, because anything that I have, I'm not going to be actively engaged with or even passively engaged with, because I have to be focused on the sound clip that I'm putting here. At least that's just from my own perspective, which also means I can't have like decent conversations with it. You might find in one of my in my earlier live streams, you'll see a lot of the time I've just like completely shut out anything that's happening in my like server or conversations or anything like that, and it yeah, and I just kind of like shut out from the conversations, and I've learned that it's not very engaging for me to just sit there and say nothing. But yes. Cool. So, I took some pictures recently that I'm really happy with. Allow me to just find them real quick. Ugh. They're a lot prettier on the phone. Yeah, the phone makes it look a lot nicer. Interesting. It might just be the monitor, actually. Let's have a look over here. Yeah, it's just the monitor. This monitor's a little bit grayed out, but let's have a look. I'm really jiving with this photo, primarily because it's long. It's a long photo. So I'm going to put this into my YouTube stuff, stream materials. This is South Brisbane Station. I was deployed at near South Brisbane Station up until recently, and half of my shifts are night shifts, which means I'm able to take pictures of the city at night. I really should get like a decent camera, to be honest. So if I have a look, I can change that to this, and then yeah, that looks really cool. Let's just make it a bit smaller, make it a bit bigger. Cool. Alrighty. But yeah, I'm really happy with the photos that I've been taking recently. They just look really, really pretty. Anyway, I should show them sometime, but now is not the time. So let's go ahead and get back into the chat so I can say hi to everyone. Let's have a look. Everything IRL is CGI. This is not true. Drawing is fun. We can do some new music, but it is. Okay, so the thing about what I was saying about CGI is that anything that you watch from a computer screen, which includes smartphones and everything, are images that are being generated by the computer. So every single old film that has been converted into digital and being played on a computer or a smart TV or a mobile phone, that's all computer generated images because it's just a list of instructions for the thing to show. The only part in which it's not technically CGI is from the production process, but every single time you've watched it, at least outside of I'm pretty like I would say the last excuse or the performance, or at least the last era of pure non-CGI anything is with VCR technology, because those were analog encryptions on a physical tape that was being decoded by systems that are designed to read analog signals and everything. So those aren't computer generated. However, as soon as you put that on a DVD, those DVDs just contain a list of instructions for the DVD player to decode and display on the TV. Well, again, no, what you're saying is right, Railfan. I want to call you Raffian. That sounds nice. Anyway, no, you're absolutely correct. I'm being a dingus. CGI is just when they use computer modeling, like CGI in the movie production sense is just when they use computer modeling to add things that weren't physically in the real world at that point in time. This also includes, this includes adding like dust and smoke to a scene, for instance. But it can also include, depending on how you run it, like keying out characters that are on a green screen and things like that. And things like miniatures. No, not miniatures. That's the difference between like CG and real effects and whatnot. But yeah, technically speaking, like Mad Max, Fury Road, like a majority of everything that you see is live action, and there's only some CGI elements. Like specifically when the doof wagon explodes and the guitar goes right close to the screen. That guitar is CG, but everything else is real. Now, I say that because the thing I'm picking up is that the entire film has been color graded and modified by a computer to add things like tinting and things like that. So would you consider the tinting to be computer generated? Okay, so let's continue working on Pear Butter's lip sync here. I've done one syllable.
Yes.
Hang on. Volume. Edit clip. Set clip. Vault. No. Operations. No. Edit clip. No. How do I set the volume of a clip? That's not right. That is not right. How do I do that? That's not right. Set. Oh, I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot. Edit clip. Operation. Oh, set volume. There we go. Okay, so that's a one. It doesn't matter. I am what is known as a dingus. Alright, so I'm just going to turn up my sound real quick. Oh, come on. There we go. Because there's something I want to see. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so I am going to do that, and then mouth grin down, and then tongue down, and then smirk moderate, S moderate, jaw closer closed, mouth O down. Okay, and the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to put a marker on everything, and I'm going to grab this, move it forward, move this back, select all of them, hit 3. So I'm going to allow this L to sustain for a bit longer, so I'm going to grab everything and move it. Okay, so I'm going to delete some of this keyframe, merge it with the next little bit. Excellent. Sounds good. Yes, I have seen Unstoppable. It's fun. Well, it's not fun, but it's quite thrilling. But yes. No, I have to resist.
Usually I like to grab everything and then grab all my key points and press 3 on them so it does it into a tangent, but that can break it sometimes, so.
Spell.
Yes.
Okay, the next thing I want to do is bring this up a little bit more, give her a bit more of a smile, a bit less of an O. There we go. And now the next thing I want to do, hit another keyframe there, grab all of these 3,
Yeah.
and then I just want to sustain this for a bit longer.
Yes.
What does
Hello, ACLP Films. How's it going?
Yes.
Okay, so this is going to come over here. Why that over here? Ooh, ooh. Oh, my spine! Ow! So next week, I'll probably do it on the Friday again. Maybe. Or it might be late Saturday. Or I could go down in the afternoon. Anyway. I'm going to make this decision before the end of the stream. That is when the next one's going to be. So one of the other things that I was like pointing out when it comes to lip sync is to make sure that you get every single one of the sounds that are being displayed by your actors, or at least the sound that you're hearing. So if I go ahead and just turn the desktop audio all the way up so you can hear what I'm hearing, if I go ahead and just play this little sound here,
what does E 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 what does E
so that what does, there's the sound that makes that the sound that is said when it has, you know, the sound that is made when she says what, so those specific sound syllables, the w, t, and then there's the sound that is the d, z, does, what does, but there's a secret hidden sound, or there's an extra hidden sound that is in between the what and the does, which is a little N sound, which is made when your tongue hits the roof of your mouth in preparation for making the D sound. So, if you make a D sound right now, D, 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 but you stop before you actually make any vocalizations, so you go D, but you don't actually move your tongue from that position, and then start humming through your nose, you've made an N sound. Which means that if you are vocalizing after the what you're vocalizing before you actually say does, you make a little N sound before you make the does sound. Does, or the D sound, that is. Does, does. That's what you hear slightly underneath what she's actually saying. And there are a few times where the actual lip sync animators or things like that may mishear or don't exactly hear those specific sounds, and those are the things that you need to pick up in order to make the lip sync sound like super genuine. So let's have a look. There it is. So that little sound there, that's the N sound, which means every action that I need to take in making her act out her laughter, I have to make sure that her mouth is in the position to make the D sound at that point, instead of when she actually makes the D sound. So let's have a look. So here, I'm going to put a mark there, and then I'm going to close the mouth there. I'm going to add a bit more of a grin. I like making N sounds on my characters by clenching the jaw. You actually make N sounds by putting the tongue on the roof of your mouth. But these specific models, it's possible, but it's not as easy to do that motion with the tongue. At the moment, if you imagine my hand as the tongue, you can only, the sliders that are available only do up motions like this, and then of course sticking the tongue out, and down motions like that. What I need is, all of this happens at the tip of the tongue. What I need is for the back of the tongue to go forward and then up, and then that's the shape that your tongue actually makes when you make a "nd" sound, which I can't easily replicate. I can replicate it on here, but I'm lazy. And so the shortcut that I've made is to hide where the tongue is by just clenching the teeth, because you can't see what my tongue is doing when I'm clenching my teeth like this. And so my tongue can be making any position whatsoever, which is what I'm replicating here. Your brain fills in the gaps. It looks natural when you get used to it, of course. I'm very used to it, so it could just be bias. But it looks natural because of the fact that you can't see it. Your brain just fills in the gaps. So let's have a look. It also doesn't hurt that you can actually sort of see her tongue there. You see her tongue and you see it move up. And so your brain's like, oh, the tongue is resting against the roof of the mouth to make the N sound. Which, if we actually zoom in, it isn't. It actually isn't resting anywhere. It's just there. You just can't see it. But your brain fills in the gaps. Your brain is very good at filling in those gaps. So here, she's vocalizing. You need to get the mouth in this right position. Going on from the D sound, which is occurred with your tongue at the roof of your mouth. D sound, and then it goes to does, which, let's have a look. So the other side of these things as well is that when you're animating lip sync, you also have to take into account like your actors, or the sound bite. I'm just going to say actors from here on in. Your actors' accent and how they actually pronounce words. So when thinking the difference between like two English languages, different accents, the neutral American accent, which is what I'm replicating right now, it's a lot. It's not perfect. I'm not an American. I don't know how to do it perfectly. But this is what I assume, at least, an American would sound like. So that word I just said, what? That's how I'm pretty sure an American would say it. What? If you went across the pond to England and you started hearing people... I can't do an English accent. Fuck. You started hearing people talking like this. A bit more of a refined or old-style English accent, and they say, what? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? That what sound, it's W-O-T, what, as opposed to the American what. W, like, what is like W, sort of like W-U-A-T, what? And so you have to take that into account. You are not lip syncing the words, you are lip syncing the sounds. That's the most important part. And when you actually discover that, when you're lip syncing the sounds, I've said this like multiple streams. Like I keep going, I keep going on about this, how you're not lip syncing to the words, you're lip syncing to the sounds. When you lip sync to the sounds, you can lip sync in any language you want without knowing what the words are actually saying, but you can still lip sync to it because you know how those sounds are made. It does get a bit different when you're talking about the sounds and languages that your own language doesn't make. Like, for instance, in most English American languages, or at least most English American accents, the glottal stop is absent. The glottal stop is found in the meme English accent, bottle of water, bottle, that little, the T, bot, that, the ending there, the subtle stop of the sound, that's a glottal stop. Glottal stop. It's Scottish. Scottish happens all the time. Hey, it's a glottal stop. All it is just you are using your throat to stop the sound, to mimic or at least make that T sound. But that's not actually a T sound. T is a lot like D, but it's a lot more sharper. So your tongue hits the roof of your mouth. But if you're doing a glottal stop, your tongue doesn't have to do anything because there's no sound coming through. And so you can make the mouth position be in a different position than you would if you were actually voicing the T's, or at least making the T's. I do not have a degree in linguistics. It's just things that I have picked up along the way, and just things that I have realized when doing lip sync. You can sort of see that all the way back in like my original streams, like 4 or 5 years ago, that it's just things that I've like picked up and learned. Like, hey, that makes normal sense. I used to say, specifically, you have to try and imagine, I still believe this as well, you have to try and imagine pushing air through your actor's throat to see what kind of sounds she'd be making at the moment. So at the moment, if I was to just push air through Pear Butter's throat at the moment and have it come out of her lips, she'd be making an S sound, or at least that's what I would see in my thing. But in the context of the animation, that's the sound that she's making at the moment. But again, you just kind of push air through the throat and then make it how it goes. Okay, so when talking about the American accent, I'm not from America, so that's one of the other things. I don't exactly know the biggest differentiations of the American accent. What I'm hoping that this one sounds like is like either Central America, like I'm talking North Texas, not Southern Texas. Now that's a different voice entirely. I know how to do that one. I'm talking North Texas, specifically either in the area where you've got such a very neutral accent. You would find it's like the mid-stripe of America. I think that's where this accent comes from. The other one, of course, is Canada. This is also where the Canadian accent sort of goes. But when talking in a Canadian accent, you kind of want to add a little bit more bounce to it, I guess. I don't exactly know the best way to do it, a Canadian accent, but I imagine that this one kind of sounds like it. I don't know exactly. And now I've slipped on to North Dakota. That's the ones that got a lot more bounce to it. North Dakota. I'm kind of just playing with the moment. I haven't actually talked with anyone from North Dakota, so I don't exactly know what they sound like. But yeah, typically you'll find that majority of American people talk in an American accent, obviously, and the American accent is more of a neutral speech. It's actually discovered, or at least it's been posited, that the American accent is actually the neutral English accent, and the English accent, or at least the one that we associate with high class and sophistication, that type of American accent, that type of English accent, is actually a performance that they have put on to differentiate themselves from the Americans. But yeah, so it's frustrating as well when talking about how people say, yes, this right here, this is the American accent, the one American accent. No other accents exist in America. This is the only American accent. That's the one that everyone sounds like, from all the way from California to Texas to a state in the east of America. I don't know, DC. I don't know. Everyone sounds exactly like this one. Yeehaw! Like, that's not American. That's Southern American. Specifically, it may even be... is that also Midwest? Midwest American accent? Or Northwest? Or, I don't know. It's the same thing with Australia, honestly. Because you've got voices like mine, which if I'm trying to eliminate all the other accents that I've just been doing out of my voice repertoire, if you listen to my accent, it sounds a little bit like what you'd consider to be Australian, but this is specifically the Brisbane City Australian accent, the city Australian accent specifically. That's more of it's a somewhat neutralized Australian accent, but it is definitely like different from an American accent, for instance, in the way that I pronounce things. Now, if we're talking like far out sort of bush level Australian accent, you've got a much more emphasis on those words that you could typically be considered as Australian, mate. And then when you start talking from your nose, you start sounding like you're from some of the bogan areas around the place, or even like far out west where no one really matters that much. Darwin, Northern Territory, I've never actually been there. I don't know what they sound like. No, mate, I don't know what they sound like. And then you've got that, the classic, we gotta go to Bendigo, Morty. We're going to Bendigo, Morty. I can't do that accent. It fucking scratches my throat out like nobody's business. I haven't smoked 17 packets of ciggies a day for the last 40 years to make that that voice work. Anyway, so these are just things that I have like picked up, I suppose. I'm not actually taught in those areas, so I don't have like a PhD. I'm not trained in linguistics and things like that. But it's just things that you pick up. So it's here where she starts. So I'm going to put that there. I'm going to grab a marker and pull it over here. Oh, your heads look bloody 12 feet tall. Funny enough, I don't know how to make the sniper's accent. So I don't know how to talk like the sniper does, but... I think it's because my register's slightly higher than what the sniper's is. And so when I try to bring my register down a bit, it sounds really false, mate. Sounds almost Cockney. Yeah, I know. But funnily enough, not all Australians sound like the sniper. So oh, it is so dry in this air. Don't worry about me. I'm just putting on my lip gloss for my date later. The date at the Harvest Moon Ball. You ever make those lip gloss sounds? Oh, mate. So the first like couple weeks of winter, it was just raining. It was just steadily raining. But when it stopped and the sun came out, the very next night I woke up, I had to peel like 16 layers of skin off my lips. I was just so dry. Like the air was just spiky. There's no other way to put it. Air is just spiky. Gee. So, yeah. So again, this is not does. This is does. It's more like diz, sort of. Never make that noise again. But it's my lip balm noise. I need to make it every time I... Okay, I'm sorry. So you're from Louisiana? Do people sound like this in Louisiana? Is that the sort of like that's just how I imagine it sounds like? Louisiana? That's how I imagine someone from Louisiana would say Louisiana. Yes. Gotta bring the jaw back. And one of the things that you'd see when you look at a lot of these 3D animations that you'll find, at least in the SFM community, using the same models. Each different animator has a different, I guess, style of animation when it comes to lip sync. It's obvious. I mean, everyone animates in a different way. But people favor different flexes because that's what we... and I say flexes, I mean specifically like the different movements that the mouths can make with these. These are the flexes over here. These are flexes. In SFM speak. This is not 3D animation speak. This is SFM speak. There's a very big like difference in it. But anyway, so they favor different flexes. I favor the like jaw open and the grin flexes. You will see that a lot. Most of my lip sync is just like opening and closing the jaw and showing and hiding the teeth. That's basically like 90% of my lip sync animation. You'll find if you really look at the mouths from what Argo Damon makes, he favors the O slider because he prefers having the lips be like closer together. And you'll find that in most of his ones, if you do the same tests that I do on my models, to push air through it and try and vocalize through what their mouth position is, you'll find that his ones more sound ooh, sort of. And it sounds a little bit more like as if you've got your mouth closer together. It's very different and a little bit harder to specifically distinguish the individual sounds that could be made out of this mouth, specifically because we've got flat frontways faces and horses have like curved faces, and it's really weird. But would you consider having characters that don't have mouths as cheating? So, animation, all forms of animation, is 90% cheating. There is no form of animation, there is no animator out there who isn't lazy. There is no animator out there who hasn't found their little cheats that makes the things look better in a way that doesn't actually require them to do 100% of the work. All animation is cheating. I am cheating right now. The fact that I'm using the flexes instead of actually moving the tongue, I'm just closing the teeth instead of moving the tongue in the correct position, that's my form of cheating. Using a character that has no mouth is not wrong. It is cheating, but it's not wrong. Because all animation is cheating. Yeah. But you'll find that you can get away with a lot more when you have a character that has no mouth, because of the fact that you've added an additional layer of separation between reality and your animation. And so, in order to make your models talk, you just need to move the head a little bit. You need to, in some way, make the person that's viewing the video know that that is where the sound is coming from, and your brain fills in the rest. You don't actually need to have a mouth on your characters. It just adds or subtracts a layer of reality from your animations. It's going to look more abstract, of course. You're not going to be able to do like I really can't say you're not going to be able to do anything, because in animation you can do anything. That's why animation is so powerful, because you can do anything. But it's not going to be seen, I guess, as serious, but you can still do it as serious. It really depends on the context. That is having a model with no mouth and just making them move their head when you do the thing. But yeah, it is cheating, but 90% of animation is cheating. Like, for instance, I'm not going to model an entire farm ground for these characters. I'm only going to model what you can see here. So only what the camera can see. I'm not going to put trees and apples all the way over here, because you're not going to see that. And that is a form of cheating. Doing it real or not cheating would be having an entire set which is a farmland. But I'm just going to put some trees in the background to make you think that it is a farmland. That's the sort of thing. That's the cheat that I'm doing. And it is cheating, but it's not wrong. It's just what you do as an animator. That's it. Like using using a script or a program to put grass on the field, like actual physical grass, without placing each individual blade of grass. That's not cheating. Well, it is cheating, because you're not placing every individual blade of grass. You're having a computer do it for you. But that's just how animation is. You know, talking about all the detail that, say, Pixar puts into their models and their if you've watched Cinema Wins, you know he really loves having reflections in eyes, which is really cool, especially when they have to add it in. With CG on a real life actor, you have to like physically model where the thing is in the space, and then you have to draw a light out of there. You have to cast a ray from it from your camera's perspective, which the computer doesn't know. You have to try and figure out how to put that into the computer. Yeah, I have to do that, and then you have to see where his eye is, and there's massively complicated process, which can somewhat, in some ways, be somewhat automated because of the amount of technology that we've got at the moment. But with a full 3D animation, all you have to do is put a light source in it and make the material that the light source is putting on slightly reflective, and then boom, you've got a reflection in the eye. It's cheating, but it's not wrong. Because that's just the technology. That's what we're able to do. It's a lot easier to do that with an animated model because, I mean, everything is fake in CGI. I say fake, but again, it's not wrong. It's just how animation works. So yes, putting a reflection or a shadow or something in CG in a completely animated form is really easy because that's what the technology allows you to do, but it's not wrong. That's the whole thing. That's the big differentiation that you need to make. A difference between cheating and efficiency, then? There is none. Efficiency is a different way of saying cheating. Or at least cheating is a different way of describing the efficient processes that you've made, or that have been made. Yeah, it is just being more efficient. The methods that you learned how to cheat is just you becoming more efficient, essentially. But I have found that the more techniques that I've learned and the more skills that I have, the longer it takes me to make an animation, because the more things that I'm noticing, and so the slower I animate. So would you consider that to be more efficient? I'd take longer, but yeah, there you go. But yeah, so don't feel bad. That is Solace. I'm talking to you now. Don't feel bad that, and definitely don't feel like you're cheating when you do something in an easier way. Because that's just animation. Those are the things you learn. And whatever gets you from that blank canvas that you start with, that blank stage that you start with, to that finished project that people like, that's animation, baby. Are some video games made from SFM into gameplay? Okay, that's a very strange question. Are you asking, do people animate in SFM and do those animations get into video games? Or are you asking, can you make a video game in SFM? The answer to that question, the second question, can you make a game from SFM, is a solid no. You can't make a game from this. You can't program anything in it, basically. You can program things into it. That's what scripts are for. Up here, the scripts, which I'm not sure if you can see. You can program things into it, but you can't program a game out of SFM. I say that, but someone probably has. I mean, let's be real. It uses Python to make these scripts in the top there. You can do anything with Python, so I guarantee you someone's made a game in SFM. Or at least, if they haven't, they probably will, because you can do things with Python and SFM, and you can modulate it, and then as soon as you put characters and a win state and a lose state, boom, you've got a game. So it is possible, I guess, but why? When there's so many other better things that you could do. The other interpretation of your question: do some animations made in SFM feature in games? You may be talking about the Meet the Team series that is featured on YouTube about Valve doing animations with the Team Fortress 2 characters. Those specific animations are made in SFM. But SFM stands for Source Filmmaker. TF2 runs off of the video game engine Source that has been made by Valve, and Source Filmmaker uses that engine to create films. Or to make film. Source Filmmaker. But the animations that are specifically found in SFM, or at least the animations that are found in the game of Team Fortress 2, weren't made with SFM. They were made with Blender, or at least the easiest way to do so is to make them with Blender. I don't know if Valve themselves use some proprietary animation software in their headquarters to specifically make the animations in the game. They probably do. Likely they use either Blender or Maya or one of the industry-grade 3D animation softwares, specifically because of the fact that you're able to create models and things in a way that the source engine understands using those programs, Maya and Blender. It's probably also likely that it's just a matter of source can understand the types of exports that the generic 3D animation software can export. And so that's where it gets that from, I guess. So what's the best animating software besides Source Filmmaker? You figure it out. That's the only thing I can say. You can figure it out. And the only way you can figure it out is either to get lessons in those individual programs or to just open it and start fiddling around with it. There is no simpler and easier to use animation software than, I believe, Source Filmmaker. This is 3D animation as well. Source Filmmaker is one of the easiest to pick up and learn. However, the skills and things that you learn specifically by using Source Filmmaker as a primary thing is not exactly transferable to the other 3D animation softwares. If you learn your animation from Blender, then you're able to animate in any program you like. The only thing that's preventing you from transferring your knowledge is the knowledge of things like shortcuts and specific syntaxes when it comes to how the program discusses the language of your controls. Blender has a certain dictionary of words that it uses to describe the things. So does Maya, so does 3ds Max, so does every other animation software out there, 3D animation software out there, including Source Filmmaker. For instance, the name Flexes, as I had said before, is, I don't think, as transferable to other other programs, but I'm pretty sure that Blender and Maya have a tool that is synonymous to SFM's Flexes. However, most of things like the thing that is really good about Blender and Maya and 3ds Max, those things, is that it is a combined modeling and animation software. So if you want something on your model to change, you can just change it in the program itself. You can actually individually change the vertexes that make up the polygons, making up the model in Blender, in Maya, in 3ds Max, and all those other programs. Because of the fact that they are combined modeling and animation. Source Filmmaker is just animation. You cannot model in this. You can combine models to make something, which I have done, but you can't actually physically change the relative positions of each of the vertex points in a model. Like this point here, I can't move it. But in Blender, Maya, 3ds Max, all those industry standards, you can. One of the good parts about Blender is, of course, it is a free program. You can download and start using it now. The only problem with it, of course, is that it's very complex. But you've got people like the Blender Guru, and you've got other resources on YouTube. If you want to spend the time, you can make fantastic animations in Blender. You can also make games in Blender. That's another thing that Blender has over Source Filmmaker. You can actually physically use the Blender engine to make video games if you so choose. And it's got resources and tools inside the Blender program for you to just make games on it. So there you go. I mean, it's also the same with SFM. You've got plenty of people, myself included, that you can learn things from in SFM. I used to have a little thing in the bottom left that shows what keys I was pressing, but it's not really all that sophisticated, and it's I ended up taking that away because it's a bit of a security risk as well, and I don't really want to. But yeah, you just have to. But the best teacher in the world is yourself. You just have to pick it up and learn. That's basically all it is. And when it comes to the best animation software, there isn't one. There is no best animation software. It's only the ones that you're good at. I'm good at SFM. SFM's the best one for me. That's all it is. If you want to make a career out of animation, if you want to make this your actual career, don't use SFM. Do not learn SFM if you want to make a career out of making animations, because no other companies aside from Valve really use it to make their animations. Because of the fact that it's not industry standard, and the tools and things that you use in SFM is not replicable applicable in the other animation softwares. However, SFM is incredibly powerful. So if you just want to do it as a hobby, if you just want to make things with SFM just because you want to make things with SFM, and you don't necessarily want to make a career out of it, you can make a career out of it, don't get me wrong. But if you don't want to specifically focus on making a career out of 3D animation, then by all means. SFM is actually incredibly powerful because of the motion editor. There are, to my knowledge, no other animation softwares out there that actually include a tool that is synonymous to the SFM's animation, the SFM's motion editor, mainly because of the fact that all the other animation programs that I've used use keyframes, and that is, you know, a specific point that contains a specific piece of information for a specific, let's see, what is this one for? Here we go. So this is the mouth O slider. At this point, it is this at this time signature, it is this value, and that is applied to that flex at that point in time. That's the basics behind what a keyframe is. The same thing happens with, let's have a look. Let's have a look at her right finger. It's her hand. If we go all the way back to where there are key points. Oh no, hang on. No, hang on. It is her finger, right? That's the one that's moving? No, that's the left hanger. All right, cool. So you can see there are lines here. Those are tangent lines, and there are different colors. Red is X, blue is Z, and green is Y. This is encoding both the position and rotation of this specific bone. That is SFM language. It is a like a point in space that matches the fucking, I don't know exactly how to explain it, but yeah. And the values that are encoded here, let me just open up the position. So these are the position values. At this point in time, this specific marker is saying that the Z value of the position of the finger L is 30.43. Or is it 36? 30.43. It's 30.43. So it has the value of 30.43. 30.43 specifically is the translation, because this is position, is translation, so moving one thing to another. It is a translation in the Z-axis, which for SFM, let me just have a look. SFM is the upwards axis. Now this is something that's different between animation programs. They have different determinations for axes. For instance, in Blender, Y is up and Z is back, and X is left and right. In SFM, Z is left and right, Y is back, and Z is up. That's just something that you have to learn. And it can cause confusion when putting a model that you've made from Blender into SFM where it's like rotated because you didn't take this account. Yeah, it's just what you have to learn. Anyway, so it is specifically a value of 30.43 up in the Z direction, to make the position of where this is. And you find that a combination of 30.43 up, 19.51 left, and 3.35 back is that exact position. And the keyframe is that these 3 points make up that information to say to the program, hey, put this model's right hand flex, right finger rig point in that specific position. And when you combine a whole bunch of those in a row, that is these keyframes, a whole bunch of those in a row, the program can determine, you can then make the program determine how to change the values in between those two values, determining on what you want it to do. That's where tangents come along. Now, every single 3D animation software out there use computational powers to specifically put a tangent line between the 2 points. SFM can edit those points, the lines directly. All 3D animation programs edit the points. SFM, you are able to edit the lines themselves without changing, or at least changing exactly how you want determining exactly what change you want to see in the tangent lines themselves. It's a bit difficult to explain because I'm an idiot. But yeah, so that's the power of the motion editor. You can actually physically change the lines themselves instead of having to interact with points, which the points are what, or the keyframes, the markings are what all the other animation softwares in the world use. I don't think, to my knowledge, again, I could be stupid. To my knowledge, there are no other programs that have a tool like the motion editor in SFM. So that is one leg up that SFM has over the other modeling softwares, but all the other modeling softwares have several other 100,000 leg ups over SFM. So I can demonstrate. I can do that right now, in fact. So if I wanted to say raise her hoof for the time period between say 5 and 10, 5 and 1, all I'd have to do in the graph editor, which is the normal editor for most other 3D animation programs, is to just grab that at the point and move it up. And now it's moved up. Congratulations, it's good. Do the same thing for over there, raise it up, and now it's raised up. Whoa! However, if I wanted to make specifically her hoofs... Hang on, let me just...
Okay, what does...
Hang on.
What...
Hey, that doesn't look right. Hang on. I'm just gonna get rid of it. Alright, cool.
Okay, what does... Okay, what does Y... Okay.
Okay. However, if I wanted specifically, for whatever reason, for her hoof to move at this time and this time, so 0.7 and 0.8, without affecting the rest of the animation, what I have to do is say, I don't know, if I want her hoof to like cut in a position, it's a little bit weird. I have to put specifically a key point here, and then move it up, and then another key point there, and then move it up, and then you've got that, which is a little bit weird, but yeah. So you've got that, and that specifically defined by those 2 points there, and if I get rid of those points, that motion as well will go away, which is fine. With the motion editor, however, I can select that specific period of time and make that change without having to worry about key points. And if we just look at it at the moment, she's going to cut up and down because I don't have any fall-off points. If I add some fall-off, I can add a linear fall-off, which means her hand will move robotically up to it, like that. I can change the tangent amount on each side. I can change the fall-off value, again, without worrying about specifics and where the points are and things like that. I can make it smoother. I can make it jagged. I can make it longer. You see that looks a little bit more noticeable, or at least it looks a little bit less noticeable. I can change the motion from here.
What does YES?
And it looks better, of course. And then all of these things that I've done, I can get rid of. Just by pressing escape, it'll go back to the normal without having to worry about Control-Zing and things like that. SFM is really bad at undoing. Every other animation program is really good at it. SFM's terrible at it. You can actually crash your program by undoing, and you can lose like hours of work, which I have had done several times. So be very mindful when undoing with the graph editor. However, if I want to delete the motion that I've just made with the motion editor, I press escape and nothing's changed, which is great. And I can also undo that, and the motion editor is a lot easier to undo in than the graph editor. I speak from experience. Please don't make the same mistakes I did. So yes, I used to poo-poo on the motion editor a lot. You know, a couple years ago, 5 or so years ago, I'd be like, yeah, the graph editor is so much better than motion editor, blah blah blah. And I had fights over it. It was great. I never won. But I didn't at that point truly appreciate just how powerful the motion editor is. And in fact, in SFM, it's a lot more powerful than the graph editor. But the graph editor is a lot more analogous to the other animation softwares. So if you're wanting to use SFM as the gateway drug to 3D animation, by all means, you can. Just try and get your head around the graph editor, because that's what is replicated in all the other animation programs out there. Okay. So you can make your models of things whether you want them. Yes, with Blender and 3ds Max and Maya and all the other industry standards, you can make whatever model you want. It's not easy, but you can. All of these models that you see and all the models that I use have all been made in Blender. Blender and ported specifically for Source Filmmaker. Every single model that you use in SFM has been made in Blender and ported across to SFM. That's basically what it is. Do you sometimes have bad days on animating? All days that I've animated have been bad days. I'd like to say there are no good or bad days, but there definitely are good days that I have where I'm just like, I'm in it, I'm I'm just keyframing and I know exactly how to get what is in my brain through the software and on the machine. There are definitely days where it's like that, and there are absolutely days where my brain just isn't engaged with making 3D animations. And so I any animations that I make look terrible and they're bad and I hate it and I don't like it. And I usually at that point realize what's going on, and I either focus on something that doesn't require animations, and specifically using SFM's graph editor because fuck, it's terrible, and editing motions and things like that. And I do things like, I don't know, scene build or lighting or something can be easily changed without affecting SFM as a whole. And I try to, I'd like to say I try to make progress, but I haven't really been doing a lot in the last couple weeks, months, years. But yes, there are absolutely good and bad days that you'll find yourself going through when you decide to do animation, and that's true of all art. There is nothing in your life in which you will not have good and bad days doing, which includes your job, includes cooking, eating, breathing, moving, anything that you do. There are good and bad days for you to do them. When it comes to animation, the only advice that I can give you is to just do it anyway. Just keep sticking to it. Don't wait for motivation. Instead, instill determination and consistency. Yeah, I think there was another word I always use. Yeah, it's not, no, determination, commitment. No, it's not that one. Oh, damn it. It's a word I had. It's like the counterpart to motivation. Determination is more like the drive to do things, which is affected by your motivation. Damn. It might be determination. But yeah, instead of waiting for your motivation to strike, instead make animation your habit, just things that you do, and the motivation will follow. Oh yeah, that's right. Cool. All right. So people usually combine determination and inspiration into the one concept of motivation. But inspiration is something that's completely separate to your drive to work. Inspiration is looking at something or seeing something or listening to something, and then there's an image in your brain and you're like, I need to make this. That is inspiration. You've just been inspired. What you need now is the determination to put that inspiration into, metastasize into a form. You can build determination like a muscle. You sit down, you start animating, and you don't stop until it's done. That is determination. And you build that like a muscle. You train it. You just keep going. And so the only thing that you need to wait for in that instance is your inspiration. And you do things by going out for a walk, listening to different things, just living. You get inspiration naturally. And that's the thing people lack or they need to find in their life in order to actually start animating properly. But the dangerous thing is combining both of those ideals into the subject of motivation. Motivation is a dangerous thing, but it's something that you can train. For instance, you can train that determination by sitting down and just continuing doing your work, not to wait for that inspiration. Inspiration is something that you can't really control. You can like build yourself up to be more susceptible to inspiration by just, thinking wacky things, crazy, just like grabbing ideas from nowhere and just kind of making it into a thing, just kind of throwing things at the wall, making a squibble, and then trying to fill it in with like to make it look nice and things like that. That's where you can sort of build your creativity and your inspiration. But when you actually have that moment of, I want to make this, that is inspiration, which isn't something that you can really control as well as you can control your determination. You control your determination by building up the drive to actually physically sit down and animate, and you do that by physically sitting down and animating. There's no other way you can do that. And once you've distilled out the subject of motivation into those two resources of determination and inspiration, you realize that you're not waiting to be motivated, you're waiting to be inspired. You can continuously build up your determination by getting one of your inspirations when it happens to you, grabbing it, writing it down, trying to explain it to yourself so you can reflect back on it later. You just grab, like, I don't know, a notebook or notes in your phone or like I've got a Discord server that only I have access to that has a channel named SFM Ideas that I talk to myself and I say, this would make a cool idea, and I put a link to the thing that inspired me to do it, and then boom, this was one of those things. And I come back to it, I listen to it, I think about it, and I'm like, cool, that's my inspiration. I'm going to take that, put it into here, and leave it for now, and then go back to it. Discipline! Discipline, that's the one. Fuck, thank you. Discipline. Oh, that's the word I was looking for. Thank you for that. Yes, sorry. Everything I've said about determination is discipline. My bad. Thank you. Yes, yeah. Sorry, I'd looked down there and saw the thing go up, and then you said, personally, I just find discipline the way you described. Yeah, so yeah, sorry. Discipline is what you train. If I cut this out as like a clip or something, which I probably won't do, I'd have to like put like my voice text of discipline over every single time I say determination. Anyway, yeah. So you train your discipline by just sitting down and knuckling to do your work. That's how you train your discipline. And you make the process of animation tied to your discipline that you train by sitting down and doing your work. And it's the combination of your discipline and your inspiration that makes motivation. But the dangerous thing is to base your will to animate to your motivation. That's an entirely separate thing. Your will and your ability to animate is separate to your inspiration, and motivation is the combination of your discipline plus your inspiration. You can't wait to be motivated to do your work. You just need to do it. You just have to do it. And when you start making the process of animation, the process of knuckling down and doing your work a consistent thing, which is something that I've got to be able to do in the future, which is something I've been lacking in the previous years, I can make all sorts of excuses. Your job, depression. I'm not depressed. Don't cry for me. There are people that are actually depressed that do need help that I don't want to mask over. That's a different thing entirely. But any excuses I can make does not absolve my responsibilities to remain true to my own discipline that I should have been making for the past like couple of years now. And so, yeah, that's just something that you need to build it, you know. And so that's why I want to try and do more frequent streams, because I find myself able to at least do more work when I'm distracted by the process of being public about it, or at least when the process becomes public, I'm like, yeah, I should probably do this. Because if I wasn't streaming, I'd probably be playing video games. Let's be real here. I'd probably just be playing video games. I've been really into Teardown recently. It's a bloody good game, but it can be frustrating sometimes. It breaks my heart, but it breaks my heart into little pixelized voxels. It's a good game. But I'd probably be doing that whilst watching some YouTube video that I've watched 16 times in a row. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 new videos queued up that I'm going to probably watch after this. But I've also made sure that I've stuck to my discipline of exercising, that at 12:30, so in about an hour, I'm going to be riding my bicycle up to the gym so I can do some more exercise stuff, so I can be more healthy and things like that. But that's just other aspects of my life. When talking specifically about the or at least the drive or the want to do things like animate, the actual skill of animating can only be built through time, blood, sweat, and tears by just sitting down and doing nothing but animating. Like when you sit down and use your computer, try to avoid loading up Steam. Try to avoid doing, well, you can't avoid loading up Steam because that's what SFM uses. Bad idea. Try to avoid the instinct of going to something like YouTube or Reddit or your usual pastimes and just open up SFM, just put on some music, whatever you like to use to concentrate, and just animate. That's the only excuse I can do. Okay. Okay, well, have a good drive, Jordan. You're probably already driving at the moment. Sorry, I missed out you. I was doing a big tirade. But have a good drive home. It's like 9 p.m. here. Yes, that is true. It's 11:30 for me because I'm on the other side of the planet and on the other end of the planet. Not only am I upside down but I'm also that way. That way. So it's a different time zone for me. Morning for me, night for you. That's just how the world works. But yeah, there's this one brilliant video that Kurzgesagt just recently put out, which I'm using. I am basing a lot of my I'm going to be basing my discipline off of, and trying to use the learnings of it. The video that Kurzgesagt put out about routines and habits, I think it's the most recent one that they've done. So the last video that he put out identified the differences between routines and habit. A routine is something that you do to build up habits. Habits are just something that you do. Well, the routine I want to instill is every single 8th day of my week. So that's the last day before going to work. I'm going to be animating. And I'm probably going to be streaming. I'm probably doing something. But basically just not playing video games is what I want to build up. And that's the habit. One of the things you can do to help build that habit is combine things that you enjoy with the work that you need to do. So only listen to music or that specific album of music that you find really loving when you're animating or drawing artists, or only listen to the specific podcasts that you like listening to when you're doing your art and things like that. Those are some of the things that you can use to reward yourself by sticking to your routine, and those sorts of things build up the ability to make it into a habit that you just do. Watch Kurzgesagt's video about routines and habits, and try to learn from it, essentially, as what I'm trying to do, and see how that works for you. Okay. Okay, so you said it looks like it lends itself to jerky and discontinuous motions if you aren't careful. Absolutely, but it can also be the attended effect, and it can also be very powerful for doing blocking. Blocking is a technique that you use where you get the basic motions that you want, or the basic positions that you want, and then that's the first pass of an animation, and then the second pass is smoothing out between those things, the third pass is making those motions a little bit easier, and then so the first pass is blocking, really easy to do with the motion editor, don't need to fuck around with points and things like that, you just kind of do it. And it can lead to jerky and discontinuous motions if you aren't careful. However, it's very easy to prevent discontinuous motions, or very easy to fix discontinuous motions, and I'll demonstrate here real quick. I've got one motion here, I'm going to move it to the left, I've got just enter that, I've got another motion here, I'm going to move it to the right, fix that, another motion here, I'm going to move it up, fix that, and then another motion here, I'm going to move it down. Cool.
Okay.
So that looks really So that looks really jerky and discontinuous, but one of the powerful tools that you can use with the motion editor is something I've hid here, is the procedural flexes. If you select a period of time and use the smooth procedural flexes, you'll find that if you just watch the tangent lines closely as I move up the smooth slider, the tangent lines end up smoothing out. And you can smooth out as much as you like, smooth it, smooth it, smooth it, and then add some fall off to the sides, and then now it's a nice smooth motion. So that's another awesome part about the motion editor as well, is that you can just smooth out your motions. And that's one of the cheats, going all the way back to a couple topics ago, that's one of the cheats that I've learned, is that I do my primary motion in the graph editor. I try to spline it, and if motions don't look right, I sort of like average it by just selecting that period of time and smoothing it out, and then it just looks a little bit better. There you go. That's one of my cheats that I picked up, and that's just what you do. Cool. So since this is the motion editor, I'm very comfortable with pressing undo. So let's go ahead and just undo my motions here. Don't rely on the motion editor's smoothing, of course. It's not something that you rely on, but it's just something that is a tool that you can use. But don't like, it's not a substitute to decent animation. Funny thing is, Argo Damon uses the motion editor all the time. He just uses the motion editor. I don't think he necessarily, I haven't seen his streams. I don't know if he uses the graph editor for most of his things, but I know that he has tutorials, and pretty much a majority of his animations are made with the motion editor. It's an incredibly powerful tool, and you can make really, really smooth animations, as Argo Damon has demonstrated with the motion editor. But yes, if you're not careful, it can make quite interesting side effects. The other fun part about the motion editor, which I was meaning to show before, is if you grab... so this blue dot here means that you can grab it and move it based off of the screen. Grab any bones you can move based off of the screen. And check this out. If I hit space, if I've got selected part of time here, and I'm holding the blue dot, and I hit space,
Yes.
I
What
can
does EY
animate it using my mouse motion.
ES spell?
Yes.
How cool is that?
What does EYES? What does YES spell?
Look at
Yes.
What does
How cool is that?
EYES?
So that's something you can do with the motion editor. You can use your mouse to animate by just holding it and pressing space. There you go. That's another cool tool. You can sort of do that with the graph editor. It's not as pronounced.
Spell.
Yes.
So like, yeah, you can see how it's sort of
What does
it makes the second point, but it doesn't really.
Yes.
Yeah. See. So yeah, it's a lot harder to do that with the graph editor. Anyway, so disappointed you didn't get my last reference. Point to your last reference. Oh, by the way, Sky Arrow, I'm pretty sure Doom is on SF. Oh, that's what you meant a couple conversations ago. I was like, there are Doom models on SFM, but no, you meant the fact that I said using SFM as a video game making program. That'd be an interesting challenge. I'm not going to do it, but it would be a very interesting challenge for someone to program Doom on SFM. Fuck's sake. Okay. Alrighty, so let's get back to my work.
what does
Anyway. Really? So I'm aware with friendship is witchcraft. But are you specifically talking about the honesty sort of aspect? Because honestly I don't remember that one. So okay, so I've made the decision. I will be posting I'll set up the new live stream in this live stream. I'll also make an event on my calendar in my phone. And I will also post on my Discord server when the next live stream is going to be. Yes, that's going to be it. Yes. That's what's going to happen. You really said... Oh, that's cap lock. Wow, he really said... Hang on. One sec. I gotta use my phone for this. No, I don't. Yeah. Alright. Or maybe would that work better? No, would that work better? Nah, that works. Wow, he really said. Anyway. Oh, where am I? There we are. Oh, okay. I'm picking up what you're putting down. That's right. I recall that in the Friendship of Witchcraft where they like censored it with honesty. That every time she'd swear, that makes sense. Neurons have fired.
Yes.
What does he
Okay, another one of those sounds I was talking about before. You've got the S sound here, but then you have a sort of vocalized E sound here. No, not an E sound. She just opens her mouth here to prepare for the E sound. So the S sound carries to here, but I need to open her mouth here. I'm going to reduce some of that there. And I'm gonna bring up some of this. And I've gotta open this mouth. Yes. Yeah, I know. My brain is like the train system in Australia. It's not the best, most efficient sort of method of transport, but it'll get you there eventually. The one thing that I've not really been able to animate properly is laughter. Laughter is my biggest weakness. I did it once. The first time I did it really well. And then I've never been able to replicate it. Oh, my spine! Oh! No, that looks weird. Reduce some of that. Reduce some of that. This animation is going to be so adorable. All right. That's basically where I've got that from. My spine. You red sissies wouldn't know how to break a spine if it. My spine. Good times. Stretch. Oh, I'll probably turn down SFM again. Turn it down to here. Yes. Yes, I do appreciate you sending me the Equestria Daily mention. I had to look at it. I was like, oh, look at that! They're using my image as the topic. That's cool. Yeah, it was really nice. I used to send my animations to Equestria Daily as like a hey look I made a thing, but like it's I have like a grudge against them a little bit. It's not so much a grudge, but it's just like I tried to build a very big social media presence, and then I realized that it's just not for me, and so I've just been kind of like, yeah, fuck it, I'll just do the thing, post it, and whoever sees it sort of thing. I've been really like bad at maintaining a social media presence. Exactly the same thing that happens in my Discord thing. By the way, yes, it was good to see you, Solus. It's good. I'm gonna keep saying the things, and whatever happens, you can go, by the way, if you like. But I used to try and be like, yeah, it's me, social media presence. Yeah, that's what all the big animators and content creators do. But it just wasn't for me. And as a part of that, I stopped sending my animations to Equestria Daily to get them reviewed, see if they can get them published. And yeah, I just don't really mind about that before anymore. But the thing that got me to have a grudge against them is that when I created my the Those Were the Days animation, I submitted it and was like, hey, this is cool. And then Seth, I can't remember if it was Seth himself, but one of the mods put out and went, this is just so boring. And I'm like, you bitch! And I've never forgiven them. Not once. Nope. Yeah. But yeah. But yeah, it's I just don't post. I don't send my animations to Equestria Daily on the pure basis of the fact that I just don't really give a shit about maintaining a social media presence. So that's that. The grudge I have is purely comical. But yes, I appreciate you sending it in to Equestria Daily. I really like that. Thank you. That is the other thing. I've used up all my talking. Time for quiet.
What does EYES spell? Okay, what does YES spell?
Yes.
What does EYES spell?
Yes.
What does EYES spell?
Yes. What is happening?
What does YES spell?
Yes.
What does EYES spell?
Yes. What are you crying for?
What does it...
What are you doing?
Okay, try again. What does YES spell?
Yes.
What does EYES spell? Spell. Oh. Oh. S spell. ES spell. Spell.
Ease. 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 AS. You're making
I
me.
can't breathe. Okay.
EYES. ES. What?
Say it again. What does EYES spell?
Yes. What? You're making me cry. What?
EYES.
EYE. Eyes.
Oh, it's going to be such a good animation. But I do have to say goodbye. Thank you for joining me at the end of this very quiet stream. Well, very quiet ending to the very quiet stream. It was not a very quiet stream. I was quite animated for some of it, which is good. And it is good to see a return to form. The next stream, which I will also be posting on my Discord server, so go ahead and check that out at the bottom in the announcements channel. The next stream is going to be, let me just give it up on my, see if I can plan it a bit. So, the next stream is going to be next week on Saturday. An hour later than today, I think, at 11 is probably going to be the best time for it. Well, no. Yes. No, same time tomorrow, next week on Saturday on my end. So same time, one day after, same time, 8 days from now. I will post a link on my YouTube, on my Discord, and I will also set up the the live stream on the YouTube channel. So thank you for that. I thank you for joining me and all that good stuff, and I will see you then. So that is it from me for today. So thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you in the next one. Oh wait, actually I need to press this button, or actually I need to go over here and press this button. Bye. Bye.